Hey, welcome to Stephen McGrath's Basscraft. So, some good news. I have a new t-shirt out. This was a quick one from inception to putting it on my shop. Monday night I was just browsing through the internet and I got my t-shirt from Richie from the Metal Sale, and a few other of my friends are getting t-shirts out, so I said I'd love to have another one out. So I just got this idea for like P-Bass schematic, but maybe done like those old manuals you had, like how to fix a Ford Escort or a Ford Fiesta or whatever. So yeah, that's what it is, and I really like it. At the end of the day, I'm just making t-shirts that I would like to wear myself, and then I'm just crossing my fingers that other people think they're cool as well. So if you want to support the podcast and support what I do, jump on the link in the description and buy one of the tees. Its pre-order is up now. It's going to take about 5 weeks to get to you because there's a huge delay sourcing the t-shirts because of Brexit, but the less said about that whole situation the better. And of course you can also just throw me a tip into PayPal or buy me an online coffee with the links in my description. I appreciate any support like that. And of course you can also just like, share, subscribe, or leave a review. All those things kind of, it tickles the algorithm, makes the algorithm happy, and will throw my podcasts in front of other people who would be interested in them, kind of just grows it. I'm starting a new series today called Irish Bassists to Know, and the first player I have on is Mr. Conor King. So Conor is one of the most in-demand bass players in Ireland. He just plays with loads of the top acts in any genre you can think of, and he's been at all the festivals and on all the TV shows and that. And it's no surprise why he's so in demand. Like, he's just a killer bass player, always in the pocket, and he's really creative. And also he's really good at synth bass, which we get into, and he explains to me, a complete Luddite when it came to that, what the story is with the synth bass stuff. And it's a real interesting chat, and we learn a lot about the Irish scene and how it works being a session bass player. And he also has his own band Milk, who have a release out and who are kind of making moves at the moment. So all his links and the links to Milk are in the description. And he was even kind enough to record an exclusive clip for the show of him doing a really nice kind of muted Michael League inspired P-Bass groove. And that'll be at the end of our chat, so stick around for that. Right, let's jump in. Like, subscribe, share, all that crack, and of course buy my t-shirt. I think it's class, hope you do too. Link is in the description. Pre-order is up now. What's pre-order? It means you can get any size you want and you'll be guaranteed to get one. I don't know when I'll do another batch. Like, it's not as if I'm becoming a millionaire from these tees. Like, they're just keeping the wheels turning. So if you buy one, I'd really appreciate it. If you can't afford one, just buy me a coffee or just do the usual thumbs up, likes and all that stuff. Right, let's jump in with Conor King, and I'll see you soon. Yeah, well, I'm doing a bit of beat making at the moment, so I probably will change the Logic. I'm trying to get into that. It's good crack, like. It's amazing all the instruments that you have at your disposal.
Yeah, do you ever get on it's like £8 a month, but there's a thing called Splice. Do you ever hear that?
Oh yeah, I saw. I've got the sponsored ad. It's like the dudes are like, "Oh, this is class."
Yeah, man, just transformed my beat making process, man.
Just made me famous.
Yeah. It's good though. There's like loads of samples on it, and then like there's everything you want on it. Even I saw there they've teamed up with like some session guys, so you can get like Travis Barker like drum kits. You get like your man Aaron Sterling plays with John Mayer. Yeah, like he's just doing stuff, and it's good then because you can lash it into Logic and you can kind of get your own samples, and because that's the only thing for me is like the drum sounds, stock drum sounds, I don't love. But like same as that, I'm just messing around really, so I mean, it's not the end of the world, but it's good to have just a little mess, and then you can like people will upload say one shots of something, so you can put that into your sampler. And then let's say I get like one shot of a synth, like some synth playing a G, lashed into your sampler, and then you have that synth then, if you know what I mean, it maps it out for you. So that's kind of alright. Yeah,
that's cool. You're kind of into that synth stuff. I see you put up some stuff on Instagram sometimes.
Yeah. That the bass synth stuff was really, it's kind of through necessity. I suppose to get into if you want, like. But,
we're recording anyway. Like,
so deadly, yeah, savage, yeah.
I think you're the only bass player I follow who does that synth stuff, and I think most people should do it, like, but they don't.
For sure, I found it was through like Joe Furlong is a great bass player and he plays synth stuff as well, and I remember talking to him about it before, and I see it myself, like where I've been on a gig and let's say there isn't the budget for like a full band, and the type of music it might be, if it's like R&B and pop music, like modern R&B and modern pop music, that like I've ended up losing a gig and then the bass is on track, which is, frustrating, but I completely get it from a budget standpoint. So I was kind of thinking to myself, well, look, I don't sing, I don't do backing vocals. What else can I bring to the table to kind of make me valuable to the project, and like from the live setup. So I found that really helped. And just kind of like faking it till you make it with it. Like my thing with it was, look, if I get a gig, I don't need to be like, you look up and some guys doing crazy stuff and it's amazing, but as long as I can play what I need to play for the gig, then fine, like that's grand. Obviously you want to improve and get better, but that was kind of my rationale behind it, because I never played like piano or anything like that, but I was like, look, I understand bass, I understand what the bass's role in something is, let me try and do some stuff. And it's really fun, and it really is fun, and definitely for the pop stuff, like it adds a lot, because that's what's on those tracks. It's the synth stuff, really. There might be a bass layered in with it as well, but most of the time it's the sub stuff, and even like the 80s stuff coming back, the kind of old, Moog sounds and Juno sounds and all that. So just trying to do more than just be a bass player,
And did it take long to get into it, to get the feel of it down? Like, because I play a bit of keyboard, but I saw you really have the touch for it. Like, did it take long to get used to it?
A bit, yeah. There's a guy on Instagram, his name's Daryl Freeman, I think his name's like The Real Free or something like that, and I have a Novation bass station. It's kind of like I think it's one of the best like entry level kind of things. I mean, it's good, it's professional quality, but it's not like, you get one for about 500 quid, I think, and he has a packs you can get up for sale. So I got like some of his packs of his sounds and stuff and just messed around with them. But looking at him was really where I got the feel thing. I noticed he was always I noticed it was a real percussive kind of thing. It's how you see people play.
I saw that, like you were not like normal keyboard playing, really, is it? Like,
yeah, it's like you see people playing the clavinet where it's a real percussive thing. And I think it's like, let's say something's in, it's nice when something is kind of one chord held out for a while, because like you can just keep the low note going, and then you can kind of just mess around with like, say you're doing like octave, then the minor 7, whatever, and you can make it kind of groovy like that, like for that kind of stuff, the more funkier stuff. But it was just watching other people and on YouTube and just seeing what they were doing. Obviously then there's people that just, they play it a real different way, but I found that was the best. And I think when I got it, that last like Bruno Mars album came out, so that was just a great excuse to just, right, let me learn this stuff, so that was how I kind of started with it, was just listening. It was like the second instrument I had learned after bass. So I was kind of looking at it from a point of view of, well, if I was to go learn an instrument now again, what would I do differently? So I was like, let me just play songs. Let me just try and play songs and, try and emulate the feel and stuff. So that's kind of what I did with it, was just trying to emulate things. And yeah, like I said, I think when I got it, that Bruno Mars record came out, and I think the Charlie Puth one with some real synth bass stuff on it. So that was kind of a help, because I was hearing that stuff on the radio and it was on Spotify and all the rest. So just trying to emulate that stuff, really. And then just doing what's required for the gig,
And did it take long to get your head around the different waves? I know that they have like the sine waves and whatever. Like, I still haven't really got my head around. I'll twist the knobs and it's making a mad sound.
Yeah.
To actually be able to go, I know what I need to do to get this sound in my head.
For sure, like that was definitely the biggest thing, because I'm still getting there. Like synthesis, I'm still trying to learn it as such, but it's, I feel fairly confident if I hear a bass track, like electric bass, I can say, maybe they're using a P bass, there's maybe a bit of chorus on it. I can identify those things in my head. That's fine. But I'm trying to get to that stage where you're listening and you think, that sounds like it's a sine wave with XYZ. And it just comes down from I just try to do it by listening to stuff, going on YouTube, seeing people, maybe do a cover of a sound that's similar, and then just trying to recreate the sound. And that's all it is, I mean, I'm lucky for bass, there's like 3 or 4 sounds that are really popular and used a lot. Whereas I wouldn't be comfortable, I wouldn't be able to hear a big, like, a big Prophet sound and emulate that properly or anything. But for bass stuff, I've just found a couple of things that work for me. But it is tough for sure. And that's the goal, is to try and get to that stage where you hear a sound, you're like, Grant, I know what that is. So yeah, it is a learning curve. It's something different for sure, because it's nearly like mathematical, do you know, that kind of way.
Well, what you're saying, like, it's not like you're going to a shed and you practicing your arpeggios. It's all about sounds. You keep mentioning, like, you're listening to the sound, and it is a kind of a different way of learning an instrument. You're not doing scales, you're just trying to emulate the sounds you hear, really, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. And like working out what fits, because, I think we can kind of get, for most things, you could get an electric bass, get your P bass, whatever it is, plug it in, play, and you'll kind of be grand. But if you go on the wrong patch on a thing and you have a sound that's completely wrong, it's just going to sound terrible. So that was the thing for me, was just kind of working out my 3 or 4 like main sounds that I'll use for most things, and then just trying to expand on that and trying to be, okay, I have this sound, how do I make it sound like this? And like that, just messing and, you know, trying. Even it's real handy, you can like latch on to something, you know, so you can just have an arpeggio going and then mess with all your knobs and buttons and whatever and see how it affects the sound. It was just trial and error, really, being like, okay, if I flick this switch, okay, it sounds like that now, so that's what that does. Do you know, that kind of way.
It's daunting at first, I'd say, like, but you get a feel for it after a while, like messing around.
Yeah, for sure. And like I said, you know, like everything else, there's 3 or 4 things that work really well that you're going to use like 90% of the time. So just being comfortable with that stuff. And now, you know, lucky enough, I have stuff saved and whatever. Like, I wouldn't be super confident with if I landed a gig and there was a different synth to what I use. I'd be like, oh, all right, how do I make that sound again? But it's just trial and error, really. But it is a different thing because it's not so much about playing. Obviously, it is about playing, but it's more the sound and the textures that you're making. Because at the start, I thought like, oh, I just want real subtones, and that was great. And say you're in a little practice room and there's not great speakers, and it sounds good. Then you land to a venue and you're going through big bass bins, and it just takes over the whole gig. So it's like, right, I need to adjust for that as well. So it's good. It's definitely something that I want to work on more, because I found it has been beneficial with gigs, like just to add that. Especially for the pop.
I was
stuff.
thinking today, even like about like, oh, I was going to put up a video. I didn't get around to making it because I got distracted with my green screen. I was like putting myself in the Millennium Falcon with Chewbacca.
Class. Unreal.
But I was thinking I was going to put a video like, this is how much slap bass you need to be able to do. And if you can just do a pop, like, you pretty much will cover every time you get asked, like Redbone, you know, there's a slap in it, or a bunch of famous hip hop lines. All it is like one pop nicely placed in the song, and if you learn that much slap bass to be able to just accurately do a pop, you'll pretty much get away with everything you're ever going to get asked to do in an actual gigging situation.
For sure. Like, I think the best way, someone said this once, I don't know who it was, but it could have been, I think it was another bass player I was chatting to, and they kind of said, like, you know, like Marcus Miller has the Marcus Miller gig, like, you know,
exactly.
That gig, you can't get that gig, like he has that gig, which is cool. And I totally understand, you know, wanting to improve your technique and wanting to do everything, but from a pure gigging point of view, it's just knowing what you need to do and knowing how to do that. Like, I remember talking to a bass player before, and they just got on like quite a big gig, like really big, like I suppose arenas and like smaller, like some smaller venues, but like good few arenas and stuff as well. And the artist he said he turned up, you know, did the audition, whatever, and they're like, yeah, that was really great. That was really great. You play upright as well, don't you? And he just said, yeah. And he said he went home, bought an upright, and practiced it. They were going off for like 2 weeks. I think they'd maybe 2 weeks, and they're going to start rehearsing. That's all I did was that person set for 2 weeks. That's all I could do in the upright bass. But that's all I needed to do.
Yeah, you know? Fair play.
So it's a bit gas, but yeah, no, it's just the synth stuff is really fun for sure, and it just opens up different, like, just kind of different ways to approach things. I find then, even because I found with my electric bass playing, any pedal I got was to try and make myself sound like a synth anyways. So I was like, well, I might as well just get one.
Skip the middleman, just get the bloody synth. Like.
Yeah. Exactly.
That is fun though, trying to emulate. I saw you were putting up some videos. I'm watching Ian Allison all the time as well, like, and it's deadly, like trying to copy the synth lines on the bass, because it's a completely different way of playing, like.
For sure, it's really fun, and like for me, the last year, obviously with like no gigs and all that kind of crack, you can kind of get in a bit of a rut with your playing, you know, because you're like, all right, I want to keep practicing, I want to keep whatever. But I was finding before the lockdown that all my like practice time was just learning songs for gigs, so I hadn't actually really sat down and properly practiced in a while. So I was like, okay, I'm practicing away, and then you kind of think, oh, this is, you know, I'm getting frustrated doing the same thing. So yeah, like he had a video up, I think, and I didn't really realise like the importance of playing with the pick when you're doing the synth stuff as well, because you get that like really sharp attack, and it's great. It just opens your mind up, I think, to different things, and being comfortable to do different genres, like, and, you know, emulate them to as best your ability, I suppose.
Yeah, it's fun. Everyone has that. They're in a rut with the whole just being at home and no gigs. And I just didn't practice for months there, but now I just started making these stupid skits on Instagram and making beats to go with them, and that kind of got me playing again. So anything that kind of will get you out, get the bass in your hands and just get going is what you need. Like,
yeah, for sure, completely. Like it's I got I think I got like one pedal I think over lockdown, and that was just me. I was like, right, I'm going to learn everything about this pedal, and I wouldn't be the type that's like you need the best gear in the world to be the best. I don't buy into any of that stuff, but I do think having maybe a new bit of gear or a different approach, it can bring you back to the instrument and kind of think, right, I'm excited to play this now again, So that was definitely a big help, because it's hard to keep motivated and keep practicing when there's nothing like in the pipeline, nothing to practice for,
Exactly. I think you have the HX Stomp actually, because I was thinking of getting one, and some people told me not to get it because the presets were terrible or something, but you were using it a lot, like, and you seem to like it.
I love it. I mean, the presets I've changed them, but like, that's kind of, I think nowadays at most digital pedals, like, you're rarely going to use something out of the box anyway, like I think this range of scope on it is amazing. Like, I'm just kind of, I'm just touching on it now, but trying to like learn all the ins and outs of it. But there's one thing that I'm finding so beneficial is, and it's really simple, is just like I like effects and I like all that kind of stuff, but you can split your chain. So let's say I have my clean bass going through, and I might, there might be a compression on it or an amp, simulator, whatever it may be. But then I can send it, I can split it off. I can cut it off by like the hertz. So there's a crossover on it. So then you can send like maybe all the high end to a fuzz pedal. So you're not losing any of your low end. Because I find that with a lot of dirt pedals and fuzz pedals, that you just lose your low end. Yeah. I'm like, sounds cool, but in a mix or a live setting, I'm gone. Like,
That's true.
So I'm finding that really, really beneficial. Just being able to have your clean sound, not even necessarily a clean sound, but having two different signals going through. Maybe there's chorus on this, and maybe there's dirt on this, but maybe I don't want the dirt affecting the chorus, so I split them up. Do you know that kind of way?
Yeah,
so
it sounds complicated for someone who's only getting into effects. I wouldn't buy it as your first pedal. There's a lot going on.
No. There is a lot going on. There's a really good app with it though. Like I would be useless now on doing anything like on the actual pedal itself, but there's a really good app. So you just connect it via USB, and it's really straightforward. If you've ever messed around with like a DAW or anything like that, you'll get the hang of it. It's just like all your sounds, and there's, could be an amp simulator. You've got, my, tone, bass, whatever it is, it's just there, and you can just adjust them, and then you're hearing it back in real time, and it makes sense.
Yeah,
like it would be a good educational tool for someone, I think, getting into pedals, because it's like, okay, well, what does rate mean on a chorus? Oh, that's what it means. Cool, So
yeah, you'll hear it. Like,
but obviously they're kind of, but obviously there is a lot to it. Like, I was a bit freaked out as well at the start, and like, oh, what have I done here? Like, and I'm like, oh, do I need this? Like, I feel like I don't want to be the guy with, you never want to be like the person with the huge pedal board that like uses the tuner on it, and that's it.
I do have a huge pedal board, but I use most of them most nights.
Yeah, that's fine. Like, I think as long as it's kind of as long as you're using it, like, it's grand. But I've done that before, where I've like built up a few pedals and stuff, and I put them all on the board, and then I'm thinking, hang on, like, I'm not actually using these. I might use like an octave pedal and my tuner pedal and a preamp pedal, and that's it. Like, but I like the idea of the Stomp, just because for like little handy stuff, then I can just bring that, and rehearsals or whatever, I can just bring that. That's fine. And then I'm in the process kind of putting it together. But what I want to do is build my board so that I'll have my bass and my synth going through it, just for more control. And I think the Stomp will help with that, because there's different ins and outs and stuff. So, but if I had something to do it for, I'd probably have it done. But I'm just putting it on the long finger, like, that kind of way.
Well, you're a Mayo man, are you? That's where you are at the moment, is it?
Yeah, I'm in Mayo. I'm in Mayo at the minute. So came home for Christmas, and obviously now with the new like restrictions or whatever, I'm gonna be here for the foreseeable. I mean, hopefully just for a couple more weeks.
It wouldn't be like the capital of rock music in Ireland. I'm curious how you got started, like playing music in Mayo.
It was like my granddad's a musician. He's a guitar player. He plays like with some of the country acts and all that kind of stuff. So there has always been music and instruments around, and there's been an interest in music. But it started off like, I was here, and I'm from like a tiny village, and we had our local like Feroga club, which is the little like youth club things to be around, and all that kind of thing. And I think there was like a nationwide thing for it was the time of Glee, when Glee was really big, like, and it was something like, you know, get your Glee on or something like that, whatever it was. And so the club were like, right, well, you know, and fair, I completely see it now, you know, it was like, right, well, we need to entertain 30 kids every Friday for an hour, so we're going to enter this competition and we're going to put a band together and we're going to put a song together and dance together and enter it. So I was like, grand. And I kind of, it was either, you know, there was a couple of lads local that like two of them play guitar, one of them played drums, and then there's a few, you know, other lads then that didn't or whatever. That was fine. And it was either I was in the band part of it or I was doing the singing and dancing. And like with the face makeup and probably like a skin tight bodysuit, whatever it was, you know. And me, my 14-year-old self said, well, not a hope I'm doing that. I'm in the band. So luckily my granddad had a bass that he lent me. And that was it. The song we did was Let Me Entertain You by Robbie Williams, and that's all I knew how to play on bass for like the first like 3 months, or not for 3 months, probably like 2 months, because we were recording that, and to this day it was E, G and A. There could have been a B section that we didn't do, but like that's all I knew. That was fine. And yeah, it just went from there, and then we kind of realised like, oh, I love playing music. Like, this is really fun and it's really rewarding. And we set up our own little band then, and you know, we'd be doing like the pubs and stuff and venues around like Connacht, and it was just great. And they were, even looking back, like they were some of the most enjoyable gigs because it was just fun. Yeah,
the early days are always fun, you know. Just there's no intention, or you're not thinking about making it anywhere. You just want to play gigs, get paid badly.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Not even get paid, you know. So looking back, like, and I didn't really know the lads that well, but sure, we were best friends then, you know, and I consider them my best friends after like playing together like for nearly 5 or 6 years. Started off when I was like 14, and yeah, it was just the best of crack. And I think that you can't get that back, you know, and it's just like there's no expectation on this gig. Like, I don't care if I need to bring my bass amp up 12 flights of stairs. I get to play a gig. That's class. Whereas now, you know, you find yourself like you land at something and something's always wrong, and
you get jaded. Like, you're not as excited anymore. Like,
yeah, for sure. Especially with like some of the cover stuff. I found that, but you know, obviously then there's other things that are really exciting and you're really proud to do and glad to do. But I think when you're that bit younger, before you're kind of doing it as a job, it's just, yeah, it's the best crack. Like, even now, any funny story we have or anything like that, it was always at a gig or on the way to a gig or something that happened after a gig, or, you know. So yeah, that definitely really fond memory. So after that, then I said, well, I want to like play bass for a living. So I went up to college then and studied that, and that was, you know, a whole different thing. But definitely the early days are the best, I think.
Did you consider going to like a normal music degree, or you just wanted to do the BIM, the performance degree up there?
Yeah.
Did you like measure it all up? Or
degree. Yeah. I didn't see, in my school there was no music in the school, so I was kind of always, I had no theory at all, like so that kind of eliminated me straight away from some of the other courses. Now, even if I did have that under my belt, like the BIM thing just really I was really taken by it. Like, you know, I remember going up for open days and the focus on performance and like some of the tutors up there, and I just remember thinking, this is amazing, you know, I get to study bass and get to study this for my degree, because I didn't really want to do anything else at that stage. And, you know, I mean, I was like, doing my leaving cert, you know, I was like 18, and I was like, this is going to be the coolest thing in the world, can't wait to do this. And it, you know, looking back, I don't know, maybe I should have thought about it a bit more, but I think like that with like my granddad playing music and stuff, that in my house, it was kind of, that was always fine. Like, if you want to do music as a job, or you want to do whatever it is, that's cool, you know, just treat it professionally, like, and that's no bother at all. I think if I said to them, oh, I want to like arse around and go up to college and have the crack and I don't care what I do, then that wouldn't be cool. But I think they kind of knew, well, yeah, you want to do this and you want to make a go of it, so 100% fire away, which I'll always be really glad for, you know, because I think it's a shame when people don't get, like, you know, if they're pressured into different things that maybe wouldn't suit them, you know.
And did your bass playing go to another level? Like, because how good were you before you went? Because I know myself, I thought I was class until I went to try and get into some music degrees in Cork, and I realised I wasn't as class as I thought I was.
Yeah, I mean,
in your hometown, you're always the best. You're one of the best bass players. Like, there's not many bass players.
I was the only bass player. Yeah, so I was like, oh, bass, this is grand. Like, I'm, you know, and I think out of the lads in the band, like the band I was in when I was younger, I was probably the one that wanted to pursue it the most anyway. So by default, I probably, was practicing the most and all that kind of thing. So I thought I was unreal, like, And then I think first open day, and like someone like Paul Moore, someone like that got up to play, and I was like, all right, no, I'm actually not that good, like, I'm not good at all. So it was great, but it was the great thing about going there as a bass player was that there's such an emphasis on performance, and there aren't many bass players. The bass player, like the bass department is usually the smallest department there, so everyone needs a bass player. So you're just straight away out gigging with people doing different genres of music. Like, I'd never played original music before. I'd never, played someone else's song that was in the room with me, and I thought that was amazing and how kind of rewarding it was. So definitely, yeah, I improved a lot, I would say, just because the nature of it. Like, you're in every day playing, and even if you're not playing in college that day, you probably have a rehearsal with someone. I'd say it more developed like my actual professional music skills, like time management and what's required on a gig. That kind of stuff is, you kind of have to learn that by doing. I think you can't just kind of bluff that stuff,
But you're really successful as one of the people that came out of BIM. Like, you're playing for a lot of acts, like, and not everyone gets chosen to do that. Do you think you did anything really that kind of set you apart a bit? You have a social media presence that definitely probably helped a bit, like.
Yeah, for sure. I think so much of it, honestly, is just it's just saying yes to everything, and like, just playing with people. That's the only way you're gonna get playing with more people. Like, it's kind of putting yourself in the shop window, like, and just approaching people that you like. If there's someone near you that, or in your college or whatever it is, in your hometown that might be writing tunes, and if you're into them, say, hey, look, I really like what you're doing. Do you need a bass player? And, the way a lot of artists are, they never think they're any good anyway. So they're amazed that someone is kind of, not they're amazed, but, a lot of people don't think in their early days, oh, someone else would want to play my music. So, I think that was so much. It was just playing with as many people as I could and saying yes to everything. Because from that, then, I kind of learned that the connections you make, that's what gets you the gigs, really, is like, the people you do a good job for, that they're happy to have you on the gig, they'll recommend you for something else. So that was really beneficial. Then the social media stuff definitely helps. I view Instagram as like, it's kind of like your CV, I think, as a session musician, because I'm never going to get a gig from LinkedIn or anything like that.
No.
It's going to be from, even if someone doesn't, like, let's say someone recommends me, they're probably going to look me up on Instagram. And if I have, it's just a human nature thing of like, oh yeah, cool, okay, he's done that gig, oh yeah, grand, because I think everyone's kind of been burnt before with getting recommended. Someone is recommended to them and they don't own an instrument or play. Like, so I think it's just kind of a thing that says, yeah, you can, yeah, he can play, he can, oh yeah, cool, he's playing with these acts, grand, and even if you don't get the gig, they might remember you for something else, so it's just having that presence and kind of, I don't think it needs to be overkill. Like, I don't think people need to be putting up like, like the most difficult thing they can play in the world, or, feel a real pressure with it. Because that's a danger of it as well. You don't want to feel a pressure into
just show you can play, I suppose, like,
Yeah, exactly. And as well kind of show that, like, I mean, obviously it's a bit harder, but I wouldn't treat it purely like a CV either, where, if you went on a night out with your mates, throw it up, like, that's cool as well. You're a human, like, you're a human.
I can hold my pints, give me the gig.
yeah, like, you're not a robot either, like. So I think just being, but then with social media, if you do have a few videos and stuff up, then it's great now, because you can just contact artists directly. And if there's someone that you like their music and you think, oh, that's cool, I really like that, then just shoot a message and say, hi, I'm really a fan of your music. If you ever need a bass player, or you never need drummer, guitar player, whatever it is, let me know. And, something might come of it, something might not. And that's just kind of been my approach with things, because no one's going to hand it to you, like,
I was really impressed when I was reading your CV that you're working with Phillip Mcgee, like, so to get like, Phillip knows I've recorded with Phillip a bunch of times with the band I'm in, but he knows every bass player in Ireland, so to get asked to be the guy to play on the project with Phil is pretty class.
Yeah, that was amazing.
That's an honour.
Like, he's like the kind, warm uncle of the Irish music scene.
Yeah, that's a good description.
He's just so nice. Even I was mad, like, this is kind of off topic, but day before Christmas, I was good before Christmas, my grandparents came up to see me in Dublin. That was really nice. I had a really nice day with them, you know. Hadn't seen them in like 7 months or something stupid. And I sat into the car with them because they, in my apartment, there's underground car parking, but I need to keep the key. So I went down with them so I could come out and then keep the key. And sure, I left my wallet in the car. I didn't cop until they were back in Mayo. And I just like put up a tweet or something like that. Said, oh, you know, say, can't believe it happened, but say straight away, like, text from Phil, are you alright? Do you need anything? Blah, blah, blah. You know, he's such a nice guy.
Soundest guy ever. And that's, there's a lot of people in, like, engineers you meet who are technically amazing, but Phil is as nice a guy as he is technically amazing at the recording. Like, he's got both of them, like. Yeah,
I know, he was great. And so I was playing with an act, Isaac Butler, real cool, like real like pop, really good like pop songs. He's an Irish guy, and he was going in recording a bunch of tunes with Phil. So, you know, I think, and in fairness, I think Isaac probably pushed to have me there as well, because he probably knew me, and you know, I think he wanted people around him that he kind of knew. But it was great work with Phil, and then he's just so nice. I felt like I learned so much just from being there and being around him. Like, I remember I went and I got my bass set up like the week before, and I hadn't really played it, whatever, that was fine. Or I'd been playing it, maybe I was just kind of playing through an amp, whatever I was doing anyways, landed, and sure, there was a grounding issue on it, like, and I was like, oh no. Do you know, it's like, I look like the fool here, like, I look like an absolute fool. So Phil kind of said, you know, we can't do anything with that, you know, like, it's just, and I felt like, you know, you feel like such an idiot, like, so, but he was nice as pie about it. Luckily, was one of my tutors, and him actually lived just over the road, from the studio, and I said, look, can I borrow a bass? I'm an idiot, long story short, I'll have it back to you by the end of the day. I said, yeah, grand. And like, Phil, after that, he was so sound. He didn't make you feel stupid or anything like that. You know, he wasn't like, oh, a bunch of amateurs. He was just like, these things happen. Don't worry about it. Like, it's grand. And he'd tell you some story about how something way worse happened to someone way bigger than you. Do you know that kind of way? So he was just really good experience. And then from like a bass playing point of view, I found just, he was so good at like, working on space. You know, just like really identifying where there needs to be things and where there doesn't need to be things, and no choice. I found that was great because he was producing it, so we kind of had some rough ideas of how the stuff would go. But that was a real pleasure, and I'd love to get back in with him soon. You know. And
will you play a bit of 5-string? And are you, like, you only brought one bass that session? Next time, will you bring like a few basses?
I'll bring the house, like, yeah. I'll bring that was a lesson learned that day for sure, like, but I think I just kind of thought, oh yeah, this, you know, this sounds great. I think it was like one tune that day, so I was like, oh yeah, this is what that tune needs, this is ideal, you know, cool, go with it. And it was my own fault for not checking, you know, my gear properly and all this, and yeah, definitely lesson learned. But I suppose you kind of need to do those things to have them, you know, like I think everyone carries a spare pack of strings because one time they didn't have one, like, that kind of way. So you just need to do those things, I think, to learn from them a bit. But yeah, really enjoyable, like, really just the way he could see the whole vision, you know, like, he'd be suggesting, say, things for the drums to do, and you're kind of thinking, oh, I don't know, is that the move, like, you know, just in your own head, and then 5 seconds later, like, no, yeah, I totally get it. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah. Well, you're learning yourself to be your own. When you're called to another session without Phil, you can be your own producer. Like, oh, I know where to fit the bass in from now on. Like,
for sure. Yeah. It's definitely, it's, you know, things learned, and you can take it to other places. Like, I really enjoy playing all the pop stuff because I think there's room for that in pop music. There's a lot of space. There's a lot of room for the bass to do interesting bits. Like, I mean, so many people, you try and cram as many hooks into a song as you can. So if you can make your bass part a bit of a hook as well, class. And I really find that enjoyable. But then kind of working within the constraints of, it's a pop song, you can't ever overshadow the vocal, and you can't do anything too weird. It's nice to come up with those parts, you know?
In fairness, like, guitar is becoming like less prominent on the radio, but bass guitar isn't. It's more like, modern music has loads of bass. Sometimes it's a synth bass, but fingered bass as well, like, you know.
For sure, yeah, definitely in the last couple of years, and it's great, like, I suppose everything comes back around, because maybe about like 5 or 6 years ago there wasn't much at all. It was all like, all the pop stuff was real sub stuff in it. And I remember for a while, every song, could be a dance song, could be whatever, had like an arpeggiated, plucked guitar, and that was it. You know, that was the song.
The end of it.
Yeah, that was the song. But it's really good to hear interesting bass lines come back. Like there's some, you know, even on like the Ariana Grande album that just came out, there's some really cool stuff on it, and they're like top people playing.
What's your man, Dua Lipa? Is that how you say her name?
Oh, Dua Lipa.
Dua Lipa. Oh my god.
No, yeah, I say she's been called
Charlie in the Chocolate Factory. She's from or something.
But yeah, that album, the great. Like, yeah, the new there's a new Miley Cyrus album as well, and that's class. It sounds like it's like Blondie or something at parts, and it's really cool. Like these bass parts with like loads of chorus on them, but there might be like chorus and an octave pedal, and it's really cool. And it's great time to kind of, if you're you know, a younger player, or you're someone that's kind of shied away from pop music, I think it's a really good time to listen to parts and be like, yeah, this is class. Like, but I think some people think pop is like a dirty word, you know, and it's not at all. I don't think.
Anyways. No, there's class bass playing to be done like in pop music.
Yeah. Well, like, you know, the Beatles are a pop band, you know, and like Paul McCartney's probably one of my favorite bass players ever. Like, they were the first probably boy band ever. Yeah. So you kind of, yeah, you know, I think people like to think the thing that's current isn't cool or whatever. And I don't know, I think it's important to embrace it. Like, I think it's, especially if you want to do the session thing. Like, I'll never understand if someone doesn't want to embrace pop music, but they want to, like, their end goal is to play with Justin Bieber. I'm like, well,
yeah, you better get into it. Like,
yeah, that's not really going to work for you. Like, you know, it just won't. Yeah.
And have you got you don't have a short scale, but you said you like Paul McCartney. I actually play my short scale more than any of my other basses, like, especially since lockdown. Nice. It's just the one I keep picking up because it's the most fun to play, like, with a plectrum, like.
Yeah, I'm after one big time. I just need to justify it because there's one of the lads, I'm in a original band as well, and one of the lads, he has a short scale that he just uses for like home recording or whatever, and he brought it to the studio one day and it was killer, and it was so fun. And I would like to I've seen people get is it the Squire Broncos, like the cheapest of the cheap kind
that's
of one.
That's good,
you know, I think you get
Ibanez Talman as well is a nice one.
Yeah, and you can just, like, you can do loads of it. I was reading somewhere as well that for recording there's something about how, because it's a short scale, there aren't as many like you know, like the harmonic series where like there's overtones and undertones. Because it's short scale, there aren't as many other notes within your note when you're playing a short scale, so apparently it's better for recording.
Really?
So
I find it cuts through really well. Like, yeah, it's class. You should definitely get one. Like, I don't know if there's any difference in the sound with the really dear ones, because you're just going for that kind of thumpy sound. Like, they're probably better, but the Bronco should do the job. Like,
yeah, no, I saw there's some limited edition Bronco or something. It's like pink and white. I think it looks class. So I might have to maybe first gig back, I might have to put that towards the short scale, which is probably the most irresponsible thing to do, but we'll have to go with it.
Well, you don't seem like a gearhead, so you're allowed to have one, like, splurge, buy something ridiculous.
Yeah, that was over the summer. That was the HX Stomp. Like, I mean, it was the height of summer. We knew there were no gigs, and I just said, you know what? So one came up second hand. I said, you know what? I want this thing. Let me get that thing for myself. And yeah, I don't mind buying gear as long as it's kind of beneficial. I am kind of weird with it at the same time. Like, I don't ever want to fall into the trap of, I need this thing because that'll make me good or that'll get me the gig. I think that's a real dangerous thing to fall into, you know. You know, I like, even with McCartney, sure, like, those basses, they had them because they were the cheapest ones they could get. Like, you know, like, that's why he had the Epiphone, because it was, or the Hofner, sorry, because it was cheap. Like, and it's funny now how you see them going for, like, they're making them now and they're going for mad money, you know. But, it's all
Harley Benton are killing it at the moment. They've got, like, they're copying every cool bass and bringing it out for like £100 or something.
Yeah, no, there's great stuff. It's a really good like I said earlier, say, talking about my granddad, he's a guitar player and he's in his like 70s now, but you know, it's really interesting talking to him about, say, the gear he was playing when he was younger, and like playing these like plastic guitars and stuff. But now you can go and you can buy a really good instrument for, you know, if you're a beginner, you can buy a really good quality instrument for not much money. And even then, if you love it, you could maybe slap new pickups in or whatever, and you could keep that, like, for your gigging instrument. And yeah, it's great.
Yeah, and did you get much of an influence from your granddad, or he's a country player, like, so?
Well, he plays country gigs, but I think at heart he's a rock and roller. Do you know, he's like rock and roll, like old rock and roll, not like rock music. Do you know, and definitely just from being around the house, like I remember one that we must have watched, say, Blues Brothers like a million times together. And then just I think with his knowledge of being like, oh well, that bass player is Donald Duck Dunn, he played with these people. And then, you know, just having that when I was starting off, that's usually the kind of stuff that people find out when they explore their instrument a bit more, because generally, you know, you're like, oh, I know who Flea is and that's class. But I was really lucky to have that knowledge just kind of when I was playing the instrument of like, oh yeah, you should like listen to this band or listen to, you know, even he got me onto the Beatles like really early, and I was hooked. I was like, this is amazing. And you know, I couldn't get over like McCartney's playing, and still to this day I think probably one of my favorite bass players.
Yeah, it's really melodic, like.
Yeah, it's amazing, and just could kind of do everything, like, you know. So yeah, definitely the influence there came from the knowledge I think that he had of music. Like, he's a bit of a music nerd, you know, which was great, because I was like, class.
He must be pretty proud, like his grandson is a professional musician, like.
Yeah, no, I think so. We've only gigged together once, and it was really, really nice. It was like the end of 2019, and it was he put an album together, and it's like that kind of like rock and roll stuff. And it was a gig, and it was my drummer I play with all the time called Colin, and like Colin Lyons, he's a great drummer. And he, you know, we're like best mates. He's been to the house loads and all that kind of stuff. So it was really nice. It was myself, Colin, Bill, my granddad, and then a keys player that was like Bill's friend, and it was a really nice like cross-generational kind of thing, you know. And yeah, it was good. So I'm definitely really thankful for that. And just, you know, I know there's always a spare instrument knocking around, or even like I had to borrow this mic stand off and all that. So it has its practical uses as well.
That's
you
class. Know? You got lucky, because living out in the country, I live in the countryside in Tipperary. Like, I grew up on a farm, like, so unless there's someone musical in your family, it can be hard to have those influences, you know. Yeah,
for sure. And then I think the other big one growing up was so he was, when I think of like music you listen to, it'd be like Beatles and stuff like that. But then Dad then was so my granddad's English, like he and then they moved home for a while, and Dad was born in England as well, in London. So Dad was actually like a club DJ when he was growing up in like the 80s and 90s. So his influence, he loves like dance music and hip hop, and I think he got me onto hip hop then from an early age. I remember like the school run, and we'd be listening to like Public Enemy and like Beastie Boys, and in fairness to me, I always used to make like censored versions, so I never got the full crack. I never got the full crack, but that got me onto that, I think, really early as well. Like, I wouldn't have as much of a passion for the old like rave dance stuff, but definitely hip hop. I've continued to listen to that, and I think that's another genre that's really overlooked for bass players.
Yeah,
really overlooked. You know, some amazing stuff. Really, and it's really fun stuff. I think it lends itself to bass playing as well, like, because most of the tunes are maybe they're 4 or 8 bar like samples looped, so you just have these really fun parts that, you know, play over, then they might drop out, and I think it teaches you a lot about rhythm and placement as well, is listening to hip hop, listen to like a good hip hop album. It
was cool, yeah. Thundercat did the album with Mac Miller, and he showed like, oh, there's this amazing virtuoso jazz guy playing on, he was doing these really nice grooves and lines, like.
Yeah,
that was
great.
Interesting.
Even for sure, even like because I mean, a lot of the stuff was like, some of the stuff is old like soul samples, and these tunes that you'd never hear, like you know, these soul samples from the 70s and 80s that have these amazing bass lines. Like, there's that tune, one of my favourite ones is a tune by Snoop Dogg called G's and Hustlers, and it's some old sample, but the bass playing is amazing. It's such a fun line, you know. So, I love playing hip hop music. Luckily enough as well, I play with a couple of hip hop acts, so it's really fun to kind of explore that world as well, because it's a very different world from other gigs that I do.
Yeah, your CV is very varied. Like, you have like, what's that girl, Lisa McHugh? She kind of does that folky stuff, and you're doing the hip hop bands. Like, it's nice variety of stuff there.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. Like, yeah, the Lisa stuff is like it's like kind of like pop country stuff, and it's you know, she's like successful, which is great. So the production level and stuff it's at a real high quality. You know, we're all on like this click track, we're all doing, and it's I love that side of things. And then the hip hop stuff can be kind of, it's a lot more like organic. So there's been times where you might just, you know, you're playing a loop and you're just kind of seeing what happens, and that's really fun too, because that's more like an energy. It's really different to like the big pop production. I think it's more like an energy based genre of music. So it's like, right, well, here's this loop I have. It could be 2 chords. What do me, drums, keys, and guitar do to within those 2 chords, like play? How can we make this interesting? You know, like these are our constraints. I think that's a really good way to push yourself, is put those constraints on yourself. You know, if you give yourself loads of room, oh well, I can use all these chords, then you can kind of do what you want. But when you're like, this is the beat, this is what we need to watch out for, let's make it interesting. I love that stuff. You know,
is there scope for improv? Like if you're doing a JLO gig, do you stick to what was on the CD, or I never did a gig like that, so I'm not sure how it works. Like
that gig is fun because we play to we play to click and play to a track, but it's more like arrangement things that are put in. So like more like the kind of gospel arrangement stuff that's put in, which is loads of fun to play, and it can be quite a challenge, you know, with like stabs in difficult places. But there is improv for sure. Like I think as long as you're bringing energy and you're bringing what fits the mood at the right time, then cool. And like that, you know, there can be stuff on the track where I might say, no, leave that big fat sub in, and I'll stay out of its way, and I'll do something different, which is, and then you have to find those parts yourself. So no, yeah, there is room for improv. More so, I'd say with like guitar and keys, whereas my job is to just keep the foundation more there, you know. You know, I'm sure if Thundercat was on the gig, like, he can do what he wants, but for
you should come to the next gig with like the 6-string bass. And
yeah. I wouldn't even know what to tune it to. I wouldn't even know. No, yeah, it is good fun though, just to kind of keep the groove locked in, and even say the type of players I think that play that kind of music, they might come from like sometimes even like a gospel background. So different people's feels is great to play with as well. Like some drummers and they're playing a fill, and you're like, they're not going to come back in on time, and then they do, but it's crossed over the bar line and it's on the 2 of the next bar. So you're like, whoa, okay, I really need to lock in, you know. So
that's kind of your did you go into the shed a lot, like doing all the arpeggios and stuff, or would you say your foundation of your playing is learning loads of songs? You were saying you were learning covers all the time.
Yeah, that was it. I think just learning songs before I went to college. Then when I went to college, I think I'm understood because I started playing other people's music, you know. So before I did that, I kind of thought, well, I just need to be able to. I was just learning like harder songs, you know, like learn the Sir Duke line, and then learn, you know, whatever else, you know, learn harder songs. But then I realized, well, hang on, I can't play Sir Duke line over someone else's folk tune. So I need to realize, I need to realize what, you know, how to create bass lines. So I think I took more of an interest in that afterwards, and then just realizing how they all kind of link up. And I wouldn't be a massive theory head, but like that, I think I'd know enough like theory as a bass player to create interesting parts, you know. I mean, I wouldn't be able to score an orchestra or anything, but yeah, they all kind of feed into one another. I think that's kind of the way BIM's set up as well. Like you have 3 core modules. You have styles, techniques, and theory, like playing modules, and they all kind of link up. So let's say in styles, if you're looking at Motown stuff, then techniques, you're going to be looking at like how to create that sound and like finger playing and like, you know, muted notes. And then in theory, you're going to be looking at like, well, how did Jameson in this line, the note choice, how do they make sense? So
and sometimes they don't make any sense.
Exactly. And
then in theory, words like what?
Yeah. Well, I think I can't remember who it was. Someone said that like theory it's music theory, like it's not music fact. And like that made so much sense to me. Just like, yeah, okay, cool. It's like these are the rules, but it's fun to not do that as well.
They're not even rules, I don't think. I just find it's a way to explain what's going on, almost like.
Yeah, for sure. It's just like language, isn't it? And it is definitely beneficial. The further I got into the session stuff, when you're playing with people that have like a much stronger theory base than you, like I found keys players all have great theory because that's like intrinsic with them playing their instrument is theory. So if they're maybe on a gig and there's a keys player and MD, it is just a really good way to, if you know that lingo, and then they can say to you, oh no, in the bridge, you know, try X. It could even just be, oh no, it's going like 4-5-1-6, and then just knowing what that is, and then knowing, oh, well, if we're in a major key, then what notes do I have available to me on the one chord? Oh, yeah, it's these. Cool. Just knowing that stuff that you can, you know, just so you're not kind of being left behind, because that's an important thing for sure, I'd say.
Yeah, and what's the plan for Milk at the moment? That's kind of like your new project.
Yeah, so that was like, I mean, through lockdown and stuff, obviously there was no other gigs going on, so we really got to put a lot of effort into that, and we recorded our first EP, which came out in summer over. Luckily enough, we had it pretty much all done before the first lockdown, which was great, because we would have been, you know, we would have made a complete balls of it otherwise. But we did that, and then over the next lockdowns, we were able to get in between them and record a lot of new music. So it's going to be loads of new music coming out this year, which I'm really excited about. And that has given me, like, aside from playing for other people, it's really interesting to look at, like, the music industry as a whole, because, you know, we're not signed or anything like that, so you kind of have to do things yourself, and which, you know, like, you know, the buzz with, like, doing stuff yourself, and it can be
I do the book. I used to all the bookings for the band for Crow Black Chicken. We have an English booker now, like, so I know the crack.
yeah, but it's really good, and it gives you it gives you, like, for me, it was nice to step away from the bass for a bit and be like, right, let me focus on this thing, and it's still rewarding, and it's still something I care about, but I felt that helped me not being burnt out on my instrument, because I'd be focusing on this other thing. So I felt it really helped my playing. And then, like that, you know, even you could be playing with another act, but the sound engineer that night was really good. Like, so class, if there's a Milk gig and need a sound engineer, you know, call them. Do you know? So it was good that way, because all the worlds kind of feed into one another. And I think that's the thing with Ireland as well, because it is so small, that you're gonna meet the same people, like, you know. So it's good to, if you get to meet them on another project and you made a contact with them, then they might help you out with this other thing. So that was definitely beneficial. But yeah, just looking forward to, I mean, sure, we were meant to have gigs. We'd a run of gigs booked for the UK, and then a Paris show, and then a Dublin show. They're meant to be happening in about, like, 3 weeks' time. So obviously,
I don't think you're going to need to buy that flight.
No, I don't think so. No, so obviously you need to reschedule them and all that. But yeah, like that. There's like UK booker now and stuff. So it is a bit more helpful. But just looking forward to getting out and playing the tunes, because we put out the first EP, and it's like there's a few tunes on that we haven't played live, and now in my head they're old songs. Like, I'm sure you know yourself.
That's
like, when
always
you're recording,
the way, yeah.
Like that's an old song. Like when that comes out, I've heard that like 20, 25 times in the last week probably. So that's an old song to me. So it's always nice to be looking forward and, like, looking at different stuff. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. New tune. There'll be a new tune out in February, so look forward to that. Cool.
And what about teaching? Are you have you thought about getting into that, or is it something you're not really interested at the moment?
Yeah, no, it is. I'd love to work in a kind of like a college setup, where it's more so talking about, like, styles and, you know, things like that, styles, techniques, as opposed to I haven't ever done, like, one-on-one bass lessons as such. I suppose you don't know what you're like until you try it. I mean, like I said, I'm here in Mayo, so
it's a hard instrument to teach. I think it's harder to teach bass than guitar. I teach bass and beginner guitar, and I don't think I can't teach the bass without getting into the theory. So you lose a lot of people.
Yeah. I suppose with guitar, you know, if you're a beginner, you can probably teach them a few chords. They can play a couple of songs, and they're happy out with that. Whereas it is harder for bass, probably. I found that, like, when you were learning, did you start playing along with songs, or what was your kind of...
I only started learning by ear about 4 years ago. I just had tab books, and then I was in original bands forever, so I wasn't learning anything by ear. And then I had to start figuring out how to learn songs by ear, like, only in the last 4 years, like.
Yeah, it's mad how quickly your ear improves, though. Like, I was the same. Like, when I was younger, I was like, ultimate guitar was my best friend. Like, you know, that was the thing. And I was probably at a stage where my ears weren't good enough that if something was wrong, which oftentimes it is, I probably wouldn't even know. Do you know what I mean? And probably the people around me wouldn't know either. You know, when you're a bit younger, like, that's
the tab says I should play it this way, so I'm going to play it this way. I can't hear any different.
It says it's this, so you're wrong, like, you know.
And it turns out they're all wrong, because when I go to play from any tab these days, I think nearly every one of them is wrong, which shows at least the ear is getting better.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just like ear development that's something that I had to deal with like for a bit, because I wouldn't back myself at all. I think I got into the habit of playing with like playing with tabs and all this, and then all of a sudden you have someone sending you their song, and the gig's in a week, and there's maybe like 6 or 7 songs, could be like support slot or whatever, and you're like, okay, I need to learn this now. And then I found I'd always be like thinking the 5th was the root, and stuff like that. Like my ear wasn't quite there. I remember doing something once, and I was like, oh, I have this, like this is in the bag, like this is so I'm feeling really good, really confident. And then land rehearsal, and I realized I was like nearly every chord for the set that I thought it was wrong. Like now that was a while ago now, if anyone's listening, don't worry.
They probably thought this guy's got some notions, he won't play the root note for any of the chords.
Yeah, playing literally probably everything else. But that's just something that I think it's a great thing to do early on,
Yeah, I think that's good advice for anyone, because well, for you and me, we both went to, like, we were proficient on the bass, and then we had to learn by ear. Like, people of the older generation didn't do that. They all they developed their ear as they learned the bass. I was able to play, and I couldn't play anything by ear.
Yeah, and I think that's how some people feel about theory as well, because some people think that, like, I get it can be frustrating for people. You can shred, you can do all this, but you might not be able to read a basic C major arpeggio, and I get that can be a real it's a really humbling experience, like when you think you're kind of the viz, and then someone puts a sheet of paper in front of you, you're like, oh wow, okay.
How do you make a guitarist shut up, put sheet music in front of him?
yeah So I think I'm probably guilty of that as well, but they're all different. I think they're all different things as well. Like some people really go down that route, and they're amazing at the sight reading stuff, and that's I don't know, that's a real skill now, to just see that and play. I remember doing a musical once, and I thought like, oh yeah, this would be grand, and it wasn't grand.
There's some crack though. The bass lines in musicals are brilliant though. It would be great to get into it.
Yeah.
Like.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. Like if you're able to do it every night, it'll be unreal. But the stress it caused, I remember doing it as well, and it was something like where it was like an amateur production thing, and I was like, yeah, cool, they need a bass player. I was like, cool, yeah, let me do this, I want to give this a go, and it was like the music that the band, like the musicians had, it was from the musical had been done in the 70s, and then it got like a rejig in like 2005 or something. So we were working off all our thing, but the cast and crew were working off they were working off the new musical. So it was and it took us about like 2 days rehearsals to work it out, and the show opening night was like the next day. So it was, I'll forget about that one. That's been blocked out, I think, in the memory. Yeah,
I got the 5-string, the green one behind me there, for a musical, like, and I haven't played it since, but I had to play it for the musical because it was written down, the low B was being banged out at the end of a load of songs, like, but it was some learning curve. Like, never played 5-string before, and I was playing it in the musical. But,
it's how do you find? So you don't. Yeah,
I haven't picked it up since.
I
haven't played it once since. Really, that was 2 years ago. I just played it for that gig, and that was it.
And now it sits proudly there, waiting for another musical.
Exactly. That's it. I really like that bass though, but no, I just don't feel like picking it up. Like, I don't need this extra string, and I don't know, not into it really.
It's mad how some instruments do that. Like, some instruments you really want to pick them up, and then some, I don't know, they just don't really sit with you. I have that. I've had 2 5-strings, and I kind of found that with both of them. I don't know. I don't gravitate towards it. Like, if I need it for a gig, cool. Like, that's fine. I'm not gonna be mad about it. But just when I'm I wouldn't even think about it. But when I'm practicing and when I'm going to do something, I just never reach for it. Like, I don't know why. I don't know why that is.
What players, like, are you checking out at the moment? Like, we've so much time at home, or is there anyone you're into really?
Yeah, there's have you seen that? It'll make you want to quit. But have you seen that guy? He's a kid, Aaron the bassist. Have you seen him?
No, he's
8. He's 8, and he's unbelievable.
Is that the guy who makes the bass face, like serious bass face?
Yeah. He's unbelievable. I think his brother, like, is a drummer, and I think his brother does the videos with him and stuff sometimes, and kind of like, runs his Instagram, whatever, and he's, oh man, it's just like the feel is so good. So I love, whenever he puts up something, I'll watch it. There's a couple of, who was I watching the last day? There's a couple, my mind has gone blank. There's that guy I mentioned earlier, Daryl Freeman, for the synth stuff.
I don't know him at
really
all,
cool.
actually. There was some guy who did a synth course on SPL. It might have been him, I'm not sure. Like,
maybe, yeah. He's great. I loved I love watching his videos. His fingers are like twice the length of mine. Like, he's scary good. So like, yeah, but he's good. He does cool things as well. Where like he'll like I said, he makes patches and you can buy them and stuff. They're not dear at all. Ian Allison, who you mentioned earlier as well.
For me, he was the best bass personality of last year. Like, he's just so brilliant. The stuff he says like is inspiring. Like, you know, he talks about making bass lines and all the good stuff. You know?
It's so practical. It's really practical. Like, I found his stuff isn't it's not like clickbaity or anything like that. No. You know, it's just really like, here's what I'm talking about. You know, and I like it's kind of aimed at, like, you know, maybe like professional or like semi-professional players, you know, like intermediate players, which is great, because there's a lot of stuff that is kind of, it might blow you away, but it's not like, you can't really take anything from it. So with his stuff, I like that you can take stuff away from it. Who else? Oh, there's someone else I'm trying to think of. I love your man. He's great. Your man Mono Neon. I just enjoy watching his playing.
So funky.
I mean, I know I just said like, I'm definitely not taking anything away from his playing, because I can't play like that.
Hey, you did one of those skit things though. To Donald Trump, I saw you were playing China, and you were like copying what he was doing.
He's that's insane. I saw him play like the end of 2019. Like, amazing, scary good. Like, just his fluidity on the instrument is insane. So like, you know, as you might not take away like, oh, I want to sound like that, but you can take away their fluidity. Evan Marion as well.
Yeah, he's cool. Like, and the beats he makes to go with his bass playing are so professional sounding as well. Like,
he's amazing. And then I've been on a big, I know it's kind of a cliche, but I've been on a big Michael League buzz recently, just watching his, not even the Snarky Puppy stuff, just like his own like little jams with people. His feel is amazing.
And he's not a flashy player at all. Like, you would rarely see him play fast, like, but he's amazing.
It's also tasty, and it's his chordal stuff. Like, I've been trying to get into the chordal stuff a bit more, just to kind of, for my own theory as well, and just for like my own head, and like, you know, helping with songwriting and stuff. It's good to have, you know, that foundation. So yeah, his stuff's just so tasty, and I find like he like that. He's never flashy, but everything is there for like a reason, which I love. I love that kind of playing. You know, I'm not as mad on the super flashy. Actually, another great one is Rocco Palladino, Pino's son. Have you checked him out?
No, never even heard of him.
So obviously Pino is like Pino, you know, but Rocco,
it's in the blood.
He plays with like Tom Misch and Yusuf Days. Yusuf Days just put out an album. It's like, it's the London like jazz scene it's mad. Like, your man Yusuf Days, he's a drummer, and it's all like kind of drum and bass kind of drums, and stuff he's doing over is so interesting. Like, he plays a lot of chordal stuff, but it'll be he's using real nice like flangers and tremolos and stuff like that, and it's just, his playing's really, really good. So definitely check him out. But other than that, not really, you know. I mean, I know I've named like 5 or 6 people there, but
that's loads for people to check out. I'm loving your man Rennie Fluxenheier at the moment. He does the Bass the World, the YouTube channel, and the guy, he has a big beard and a hat.
Yeah. He's his feel is amazing.
He's coming on for a chat next Wednesday. So.
No way.
Yeah.
Class.
I'd be like fanboying him, like, man, you're the best.
He's amazing. I remember seeing a video he did like ages ago, and it was like hip hop bass lines, and his feel is so good. He was so laid back. But I find like some people, when they try and do the laid back thing, it sounds, it's real obvious they're trying to do that, and you know, it's nearly like it nearly puts you off. But it was so natural to him, like, and yeah, no, that'd be great. I'd love to have a shot in their big room, wherever it is, with all the gear.
It's in Berlin, actually, is where they're based. Yeah.
Oh, I'd love to have a go in there. Your man just says load. It's gas. I've never seen your man like play at all. The fellow that narrates the video.
Yeah,
so
he's got like, some voice, like his class voice, and his introductions are hilarious. Like,
he must just love buying gear and getting class players to play it. Like, that's seems, you know.
Some people are like that, you know, like bass geeks. Like, they buy the gear, but they don't play.
Yeah, completely. No, yeah, that stuff's cool. I think there's someone else maybe. No, I'll look. It'll probably come to me afterwards. But there's loads of people out there that are really, really, really good. For different stuff. Like I'm finding, even on the synth world, like YouTube, I'm finding people that, just typing in like synth bass stuff, and there's people that are doing cool covers, and they might like share. Because the synth I have a lot of the time, like there's a few people have it, so it's really nice. They might do like a little breakdown of how they got that sound. So that's great as well. But yeah, it can be hard as well at times. Like I think I like unfollowed a good few people there on Instagram, because I was just finding myself like seeing all these amazing players, and I was like, oh geez, and you feel bad about yourself in that kind of way. So I try to just keep people that I like the content, and that I can get something out of the content other than like, I'm not good. Do you know?
Yeah, it can be. Yeah, it can set you back. Like it doesn't inspire you sometimes seeing this shredathon kind of thing.
For sure, yeah, for sure. And sometimes even with like, just with that, like the mono neon stuff is obviously like shred-tastic, but I get something else out of that. So I think it's a personal thing. If you get something out of it, then it's valid. But I was just finding myself like nearly skipping past videos because I was like, oh, I know what this is going to be already, and I'm not, I'm just not bothered with it.
Yeah.
There's like, Shirai Reid, actually, I've been listening to a lot of him. He's like a gospel player.
Yeah, I've heard of him. Yeah.
Really cool. Just the phrasing, just his phrasing is really, really interesting, with like going over bar lines and stuff, but like not in a really obvious way. He's just real tasty player.
Cool. So you're just kind of analysing a lot of these lines and the musicality of what they're doing, like, which is a great way to learn, and improve your own. They're different type of chops. Like it's a musical kind of chops. You could apply it to any instrument, really. Like.
Yeah, for sure. Like I'm just trying to look at like things I can bring to my playing at the minute. So the big one actually is I'm just trying to get really comfortable with the pick at the minute, because I never really played with the pick until over summer. I was with some of the Milk stuff, we were recording it, just needed a pick sound. So looking at people like Bobby Vega, and there's that guy Cody Wright. And now, obviously I wouldn't be doing anything like that, but just looking at them and like appreciating the pick a bit more. So I'm just trying to, with the time off, is like find things I can improve on that I'm not fully comfortable with yet. I think that's a good way to do it, and just going at your own pace, because there's no point feeling bad about me not being able to play like Bobby Vega after one day of the pick. So just really trying to, learn new things, as much as you can. But then, sure, I haven't picked up the bass in the last like 2 or 3 days, I'd say.
That's a disgrace, man.
Yeah.
That's terrible. Yeah. No, I'm the same. I can be.
This is cancelled. I'm not putting this interview out.
Yeah, you're fired. That was great. No, we've loads there. Like, I kind of just cut it and bring it in whenever it feels natural. It's not really a big thing. Like, were you going to prepare some kind of bit of playing to stick on?
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to do I'm doing a lot of stuff at the minute, which is like I love it. It's like palm muting, but with your thumb and fingers. I love that kind of stuff.
I do that all the time. Yeah, mainly on the sire bass. I like the 24 fret for doing that kind of thing.
Cool. Yeah. So I'm just gonna put a little beat together and probably do some sort of like Michael League inspired thing. So yeah, I look forward to putting that together.